All right, Jamie. Players you love this week. Who's our start of the week?
Matthew Stafford. Speaking of not going 0-2, Sean McVay has never been 2 games under 500. And so I think Matthew Stafford will bounce back and have a big game against the Falcons. We saw in the fourth quarter, they allowed over 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns to Jameis Winston in the Saints' comeback effort. I don't buy this defense being as good as it was in the first 3 quarters. I think we'll see a Stafford with a little extra time since the game was on Thursday, correct some of his mistakes. Allen Robinson will correct some of his mistakes. I think it's going to be a big Rams victory at home.
Would you start Stafford over?
He's a top 5 quarterback for me, so I would start him over Brady. I would start him over Kyler. I would start him over Trubisky. I would start him over a lot of quarterbacks.
Trubisky. Okay, I'll avoid controversy and just let that one stand. I won't even make you argue that. Heath, who you love this week?
I guess we love the Rams because I was going to say Darrell Henderson. I believe the last I checked, the Rams had the highest implied total on the Sunday slate, at least. I don't think it's higher than what the Chiefs are tonight, but definitely very close to 30 points. I don't think Cam Akers is getting his job back here. As long as Darrell Henderson stays healthy, I expect him to see 16 plus touches and be a mid-range to high-end number 2 running back.
Okay, you've got him over week 1 studs like A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson, Cordero Patterson. And you also have him over players like James Conner and Javonte Williams, but you can start, both of those guys. You could start those guys and Darrell Henderson, but you have Darrell Henderson as a top 12 running back. So does Dave in PPR. Jamie has him 18th. Okay, how about players we're avoiding, Heath? Who would you sit this week?
Well, hopefully not DeAndre Swift, but I do think if you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire as your third running back, you might have to, depending on what practice reports today. I would say that I don't know why you ever ask me these first. I never have a good answer.
Hey, who are you avoiding?
I would say all Cowboys not named Dalton Schultz.
All right. We should talk about that's the first game we're going to talk about. So it's up against the Bengals. What kind of do you think they're going to go more run heavy, or do you think they're just going to keep airing it out? Do they run the offense through Zeke now? Is he the man?
I would imagine they're going to try. I mean, are you going to rely on Cooper Rush with that offensive line? I
just last year he started 1 game, he threw 40 passes. 2 years ago, Andy Dalton started 9 games, he averaged 36 passes. I think we're going to see 35 to 40 pass attempts.
So
I think by the end of the game we might, yeah. But I think the game plan is going to be lean on Zeke as much as you can.
They definitely could be try to catch up here. I mean, the Bengals are probably good, even though they lost last week.
They lost last week. I mean, they had 5 turnovers. Joe Burrow was a mess in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, he was. So I was just being sarcastic. They're good. So where do you have CeeDee Lamb this week, guys?
Outside my top 24. Still top 30 receiver, but not a must-start receiver in a 2-receiver league.
Just barely inside my top 20. I've changed on that since the beginning of the week, but I mostly just think he's going to get 10 targets. I'm going to start a guy with 10 targets, even if it's a bad quarterback.
Okay, and yeah, he did throw for over 300 yards in that game. I watched almost every throw. He's not very good. He had a great throw to Cedric Wilson on a 73 or a 76-yard touchdown catch. It really boosted his numbers.
You're talking about the game last year we started for Dak on Monday night against the Vikings?
Yeah. I went back and watched it last night, and a very off target and 2 terrible interceptions. And he looked inexperienced for sure. But one thing he did do, Cooper Rush, was he threw the ball downfield a lot. His air yards were very, very high. So we can get into that a little bit later. Heath, you got a player to avoid yet?
It's Travis Etienne. And I was leaning this way before the comment yesterday, and maybe it didn't mean anything at all. Maybe it was just praise for James Robinson. But after all of the minor and major mistakes Etienne made in week 1, they asked Doug Peterson, what did you learn in week 1? And he said how important James Robinson is. I don't think James Robinson is going to play less than 51% of the snaps. I would be surprised if he played fewer than 60% of the snaps. And so I do think we see a small decrease from Etienne. Maybe he'll make 1 big play and score. That's a possibility. If you need him as a flex, I understand that. But I also think there's a possibility that he gets 4 carries and 3 catches in this game.
Did we get an update on Shaquille Leonard yet?
Practiced in full, but he also did that last week at this time and did not end up playing.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Do you think that look, the last 3 seasons now, there have been 4 games that they've played without Shaquille Leonard, and their run defense has held up in all 4 of those games. Just in terms of per carry by running backs. The run defense has been good even without Leonard. Do you think Robinson is a start this week, Heath? If Etienne's a sit, is Robinson a start?
I don't love Robinson, but I would definitely prefer to start Robinson over Etienne. This Jacksonville team has given Indianapolis all kinds of troubles over the last couple of years, and I don't really believe that's going to continue. And I think maybe when that trend ends, it ends in a painful way for the Jaguars.